According to Deadline, not only is the Boba Fett show on Disney Plus totally real, but we might actually see it before we even see The Mandalorian season. Let's break it down. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button. Let's get into this story. Let's get right to the report. This is coming from Deadline, and this actually came out a couple of days ago, but it's a little bit fortuitous that we didn't cover it right away because there has been an update posted on the story. In an article that is titled, "The Mandalorian Eyes Production Start as Spin-Off Casting and Boba Fett Buzz Heats Up," has this update posted to it now. It says here, Disney Plus's signature original series, The Mandalorian, just returned for its second season, which has wrapped production just before the pandemic hit in March. While not officially greenlit, a third season of the hit Star Wars series has been in pre-production for months, with creator, director, and executive producer Jon Favreau publicly stating that he hoped to start filming by end of 2020. That may be the case, with some sources indicating that production would be starting as soon as next week or in late November, early December, while others pointing to the spring or even fall of 2021. The confusion stems from the level of secrecy in the Lucasfilm camp, but present chatter could explain the discrepancy that another Mandalorian-related project/spinoff, I hear possibly a Boba Fett miniseries, would film first, starting next week or later this month, with The Mandalorian Season 3 production coming after that. A couple other interesting things out of this article. It says here, in February, then Disney CEO Bob Iger hinted at the company's plan to expand the Mandalorian franchise with spin-off series, teasing the possibility of infusing the Mothership series with more characters and taking those characters in their own direction in terms of series. There is speculation that such series is in the works and about to start filming, though it is unclear what Mandalorian characters would be spun off and whether Boba Fett is one of them. Okay, so that's the new report. Now, the really big juicy part of this is that this is the first time that the Hollywood trades are confirming stuff that has been talked about a lot with different scoopers, reporters, and things like that. Now, I know this gets confusing, and some people only watch a couple of our videos. Maybe some people only watch this video. So I just want to take a second to explain that there are always like rumors and reports and sort of independent journalists or people on Reddit that are trying to break stories. And then there are the Hollywood trades, which are the more correct. They have actual Hollywood access. They work with the studio system so they can cover up stories or they can report things in a certain way to make it look good for the studio. Those companies do also have the best track record with things like this, because not only is it like totally true when they report something, but it is usually that the studio is cool with it. Maybe the studio wouldn't give them an actual comment for the story, but behind closed doors and maybe off the record, the studio's like, yeah, go ahead, report that. And so again, the biggest takeaway is that one of the Hollywood trades talking about the Boba Fett spinoff show and how that's actually going to film before Mando Season 3 is a very, very big deal. I've been talking about this for months and months and months. They are building a suite of Star Wars live-action shows over on Disney Plus that I've referred to as the Filoni-Verse, because it uses a lot of Filoni's characters from Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars, and I believe Filoni will be a big part of how all of these shows tie together. Now, the update to that article is all about like what show's going to film first, right? Basically, Deadline had reported that the Boba Fett show was going to be filming first. Someone at Disney sort of was like, that's not exactly true. You need to change that. That's why they updated it. Again, this is coming from the studio. The Hollywood trades have relationships with the studio. But here's the thing. It's such a semantic argument because like, it's just, what do you mean filming and when do you mean start, right? Like, I know for sure that there are things going on at the volume for live action Star Wars, like right now. Okay. And I believe that will continue moving forward. And I also think, frankly, that the fact that a lot of these shows are going to shoot on the volume and all going to be shooting around the same time is going to make it hard for people in the press to like see what is going on and know for sure what show is doing what. These shows are all interconnected. So it's a lot like Infinity War and Endgame, where they were just shooting a massive amount of stuff all around the same like time period. And then that gets pulled out to make these, you know, two massive movies. In this case, it'll be these 5 or more live action Star Wars shows. And I think the truth is we don't know. Like, we might see Mandalorian Season 3 before we see the Boba Fett show, and I remember hearing reports that Boba was going to play a massive part for the Mandalorian Season 3. So maybe wires are getting crossed. Tamara Morrison is filming a ton of scenes right now for the Mandalorian Season 3, and people just think that because he is there and he is shooting Boba Fett that it's a separate show. Or maybe he's doing both. Maybe he's doing principal for the Boba Fett show while also filming some scenes scenes that will then be taken and used for The Mandalorian Season 3. And an example of this that just popped into my head is the scene in Suicide Squad where the Flash comes in and he has a cameo in the Suicide Squad. That scene was actually shot in London on the set of Justice League by Zack Snyder and then was just used in the Suicide Squad movie. So this stuff happens all the time in Hollywood, and especially when it comes to the volume and the live action stuff they're doing with Star Wars, the possibilities are wide open. But either way, what it really means is that Boba Fett is a huge priority for Lucasfilm moving forward. I'm sure they were very excited with how positive people received the first episode of The Mandalorian Season 2. Boba Fury is starting up again. People love Boba, and I just want to remind everybody that's like sort of skeptical of all this Boba love, and there's really only a few of them. Lord Vito, I'm looking at you. But I would just like to remind everybody that even before any of this craziness happened, even before we got the sequel trilogy, there was a Boba Fett film being developed. Lucasfilm had always wanted to do more stuff with Boba. This is the Josh Trank movie, and a lot of the pre-production modeling and art that was created for Josh Trank's Boba Fett movie was used and repurposed for The Mandalorian, and so there's a nice through line there. And real quick, total side note, we were initially very upset that the sequel trilogy didn't touch anything really in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, you know, and we were upset about the vagueness, about not getting a lot of information about what was really going on, and the fact that legacy characters weren't really involved. But maybe that'll end up being a good thing, as now those characters and places and stories are totally free for Filoni and Favreau to go explore over on Disney+. Now, take my hand, let's go to Speculation Town. This is crazy to me. Like, even when I was initially hearing about the Boba Fett show, it was the one show that really stuck out to me as confusing. I can totally see how you do a live action Ahsoka show. I can absolutely see how a Thrawn and Ezra show would make sense, considering what I know about Rebels. It just makes sense. Those shows would make sense. The Obi-Wan show makes sense. Cassian Andor makes sense. Boba Fett as a show doesn't make any sense to me. Like, where does that fit into the timeline? And if it is in the Filoni-Verse and set after this season of The Mandalorian, or perhaps after season 3 of The Mandalorian, then what significance does Boba have? And that significance must be so big and important to Star Wars overall that he's getting his own show. Or am I overthinking it? Is it just going to be like a small little show just following Boba and he's just doing bounty hunter things, which would be cool and very interesting, but not really where my mind is going. Like, what I am like thinking about here is all the times all these different insiders and people told me that it's Marvel now, it's Marvel Cinematic Universe now, that they're going to build to their end game, that they're going to build these, you know, these shows together to make them all add together this big crazy adventure. And I can't help but think, as we've talked about many times, that we're doing a new version of the Vong War, that the arc that Boba went on in the expanded universe that took him to actually become the leader of Mandalore, from being not a true Mandalorian to being adopted into the culture to becoming the ruler of Mandalore, and his role as the leader of Mandalore during the Vong Wars is an incredible thing from the expanded universe. And I can't help but think that that is the direction that we are going with Boba. Now, another thing that I want to talk about here, and it's sort of a fringe theory, but it's kind of cool. And in the expanded universe, Boba had a daughter who, of course, was a total badass, right? Well, some people think that Sasha Banks could technically be playing a new version of Boba's daughter. And I've even heard some people suggest that Fennec Shand and Boba Fett may have had this child together, and that the daughter, Sasha Banks' character, could be the daughter of Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. And I'm just going to say this. If that's true, then that's like one of the most badass bounty hunter potential specimens you can possibly imagine. To have the genetics of Fennec Shand and Boba Fett in you, like, holy crap, Sasha Banks is going to be a total badass, which could be awesome and a cool character to follow as we move forward in time past the timeline of the sequel trilogies, because eventually, regardless of what time period we're exploring over here with the Filoni-Verse, we are going to have to get to the sequel trilogy and move past the sequel trilogy time period. And so it could be cool to have characters like Boba's daughter sort of playing a big role moving forward, and the Boba show and what Boba might do with the new new version of the Vong Wars, potentially with the Grisk or the Rakatan or something like that. That could leave a legacy for her to have moving forward, which would make fans really, really like that character. Regardless, it looks like we're getting a Boba Fett live action show, possibly even before we see The Mandalorian Season 3, and it looks like Star Wars has big, big plans for Mr. Fett in the future, and so that's the report and some of my speculation about it. But I, of course, want to know what you think about this, so let us know in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Jose Tirado. Yes, indeed, it was the Idiot's Array that was the Sabacc hand that the repair lady played against the Ant guy. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what was the name of Boba Fett's daughter in the expanded universe? If you like this video, make sure you like it. If you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you thinking? You gotta subscribe so you don't miss any videos. If you're enjoying the content over here, then you will absolutely love the live streams we do straight from Nerd Ventures Tower, Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.